Riding a motorcycle is more than just transportation, it's an identity. Yet some riders treat the road like a video game, weaving through traffic, showing off, and picking up habits that make them look like total clowns. This isn't about rookie mistakes. This is the kind of stuff that makes seasoned bikers shake their heads in disgust. These are the 22 habits and unwritten rules that separate real riders from wannabes. And odds are, you're guilty of at least one. Let's kick things off with the riding habits that instantly make you look like a total clown. 22. Riding like you're in a video game. Some people treat the road like it's their personal racetrack, or worse, like they're starring in some motorcycle stunt movie. They weave through traffic at high speed, tailgate like they've got extra lives, and make last-second lane changes as if they're dodging obstacles in an arcade game. It's not just reckless, it's embarrassing. Real riders don't have to ride like they've got something to prove. If you're darting in and out of traffic at triple-digit speeds just to show off, you're not impressing anyone. The only thing you're proving is that you don't understand basic physics. You're one bad decision away from becoming a hood ornament. And let's not forget the guys who try to race other bikers at every stoplight. Just because another motorcycle pulls up next to you doesn't mean it's go time. Not every rider is looking for a showdown. And honestly, most of them are just rolling their eyes at you behind the visor. If you want to ride aggressively, take it to the track. If you want to ride on the street, ride smart. Because trying to be a hotshot in traffic is a great way to win a one-way ticket to the hospital or the junkyard. This kind of aggressive, unpredictable riding is a hallmark of someone who lacks common sense on the road. To make sure you keep getting better, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, it means a lot. Let's move on. 21. Treating your bike like a lawn chair at every stop. You've seen them. The riders who roll up to a stop, plant both feet on the ground, and then just sit there, legs sprawled out like they're waiting for a waiter to bring them a drink. It's as if they forgot they were on a motorcycle and thought they're lounging in a recliner instead. Look, I get it. Sometimes you need a breather. Maybe you're riding in traffic, or you're stuck at a long red light and you just want to relax for a second. But whenever every stop turns into a full-on leg stretch session, it makes you look like you've got no control over your bike. A skilled rider doesn't flop their legs out like they're trying to air out their jeans. They stay balanced, poised, and ready to move. The worst offenders are the ones who actually take their hands off the bars and lean back like they're sunbathing at the beach. Not only does this look ridiculous, but it's also dangerous. You never know when an inattentive driver behind you is about to do something stupid. And if you're caught off guard, you're going to have a hard time reacting in time. And don't even get me started on the riders who drag their feet for half a block before putting them up. Are you riding a motorcycle or Fred Flintstone's car? The whole point of riding is balance. If you can't take off smoothly and get your feet up quickly, you need to work on your low-speed control. A real rider is always in control of their bike, even when stopped. If you want to look like you know what you're doing, keep your posture right. Be ready to move. And for the love of all things fast, don't sit there like you're waiting for room service. Maintaining that constant, poised control is crucial, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. 20. Forgetting you have turn signals or using them like an afterthought. Motorcycles come with turn signals for a reason, but apparently some riders think they're just decorative. You've got the ones who never use them, the ones who turn them on way too late, and worst of all, The ones who leave them blinking for miles like they're leading a parade. Let's start with the riders who never signal. These are the same people who assume everyone else on the road is psychic. They change lanes, make turns, and merge without a single flick of a blinker, as if cars should magically know where they're going next. That's not just dumb, it's straight up dangerous. If a driver doesn't know your next move, they can't react properly, and that's how you end up in their fender. Then you have the riders who wait until the last possible second to signal. They'll be blasting down the highway and then suddenly slam on their brakes and throw on the blinker mid-turn. Oh, so now you want to tell everyone where you're going? It's too late, buddy. The whole point of a turn signal is to warn people before you move, not as you're already halfway into the other lane. And finally, there are the riders who turn on their signal but never turn it off. They'll change lanes, straighten out, and keep riding for miles while their blinker just blinks and blinks and blinks. At this point, nobody knows if they're turning again or if they just have no idea what's happening. And trust me, nothing makes you look like a clueless rookie faster than rolling down the road with your signal blinking for 5 minutes straight. Good riders communicate. They make their intentions clear. They use their signals properly, and most importantly, they turn the damn thing off when they're done. Communication is key, but so is maintaining physical control of your machine. 19. Riding with one hand like you're in a music video. We've all seen that guy cruising down the road with one hand on the bars and the other just, I don't know, dangling in the wind like he's posing for a magazine shoot. Maybe he thinks he looks cool. Maybe he's trying to act relaxed. But in reality, he just looks like he has no idea what he's doing. Now, don't get me wrong. Every experienced rider takes a hand off the bars once in a while, adjusting a glove, stretching a cramp, or giving another rider a wave. That's normal. But there's a big difference between momentarily taking one hand off and riding like you're lounging on a couch. Some of these guys will rest their arm on their leg like they're watching TV, or worse, sling it over the gas tank like they're hugging their bike mid-ride. And don't even get me started on the ones who ride no-handed for extended periods. You might think you look casual, but what you actually look like is a future crash statistic. Riding one-handed severely limits your ability to react if something happens. A sudden pothole, a car cutting you off, a gust of wind. You've just lost half your ability to control the bike. And if you're one of those riders who casually lets go entirely on the highway, congratulations. You've officially entered clown territory. Motorcycles are meant to be ridden, not used as armrests. Keep both hands on the bars where they belong. Looking cool means nothing if you end up being scraped off the pavement. And speaking of things that belong in their proper place, you wouldn't believe what some riders forget before they even get going. 18. Leaving your kickstand down and trying to take off. Nothing screams rookie mistake louder than rolling forward only to have your bike come to a sudden, embarrassing halt because, oops, you forgot to put the kickstand up. Bonus points if you actually manage to tip the bike over in the process. Look, we've all seen it happen. Maybe you're distracted, maybe you're in a hurry, or maybe you just didn't do a basic kick check before taking off. Either way, riding off with your kickstand down makes you look clueless, especially if your bike lurches awkwardly to one side before you realize your mistake. Modern bikes have safety switches that cut the engine if the kickstand's down when you shift into gear. But older bikes, no such luck. If you forget to put it up and lean into a left-hand turn, congratulations. You just converted your kickstand into a roadside anchor. Best case, you get a sudden, violent jolt that nearly throws you off the bike. Worst case, the stand digs in, sends you flying, and leaves you skidding across the pavement like a bad action movie stunt. And let's not forget the guys who do this every single time they ride. You know the type. Always fumbling with the stand, catching it at the last second, and never learning their lesson. At some point, it stops being an accident and just becomes a personality trait. A real rider does a simple pre-ride check. Quick glance down, a flick of the stand, and you're good to go. If you can't manage that, maybe it's time to rethink whether you should be on 2 wheels at all. This is a basic error, but the next habit involves a responsibility that goes beyond just your own safety. 17. Ignoring your passenger like they're just extra luggage. Riding solo is one thing, but the moment you have a passenger, you're responsible for 2 lives, not just your own. And yet, some riders act like the person on the back is just another accessory, completely ignoring the fact that they need to adjust their riding style. A clueless rider will take off too fast, brake too hard, and lean aggressively without even considering how it affects the passenger. They'll weave through traffic like they're on a solo sprint, forgetting that the person behind them doesn't have handlebars to hold on to. Worse, some of these guys won't even give their passenger a heads up before making sudden moves, leaving them clinging for dear life like terrified roller coaster riders. And then there are the ones who don't bother to check if their passenger is even ready before taking off. You ever see someone start rolling while their passenger is still adjusting their gear? That's a guaranteed way to cause panic and make yourself look like an absolute fool. A real rider knows how to accommodate a passenger. Smooth acceleration, gradual braking, and controlled leaning, that's the key. A good rider also communicates. A simple, ready, before taking off, and a few basic instructions on how to move with the bike can make a world of difference. If you treat your passenger like a sack of potatoes, don't be surprised when they never want to ride with you again. Riding 2 up takes skill, awareness, and a little bit of common sense, something too many riders seem to leave at home. And speaking of common sense, it extends even to your protective gear. 16. Wearing the wrong-sized helmet like it's a fashion statement. Nothing screams, "I have no idea what I'm doing," louder than a guy riding around with a helmet that either wobbles like a bobblehead or squeezes his face like a vice grip. It's either so loose that it lifts off at high speeds, or so tight that it looks like his brain is being vacuum sealed. Either way, it's a dead giveaway he has no clue about proper gear. Some riders buy helmets based on looks alone. They'll pick a flashy one because it looks cool, completely ignoring fit, safety ratings, or whether it even matches their riding style. Or worse, some just borrow a friend's helmet, even if it's 3 sizes too big, figuring, close enough. Spoiler alert, it's not. A helmet that's too loose, it won't protect you in a crash if it flies off before you even hit the ground. You might as well not even be wearing one at all. On the other hand, if it's too tight, you'll be miserable every time you ride. Headaches, pressure points, and constantly adjusting your lid while moving. That's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. And don't even get me started on the guys who refuse to buckle their chin strap. Riding with a loose strap, flapping in the wind, doesn't make you look cool. It makes you look like someone who's about to lose their helmet in the middle of traffic. A real rider takes the time to get a helmet that fits properly, snug but comfortable, no pressure points, and secure enough that it won't shift around at speed. If your helmet moves when you shake your head, or if you can slide more than 2 fingers under the chin strap, congratulations, you just bought yourself a very expensive paperweight. Proper fit isn't just about safety, it's about projecting competence, a trait often undermined by unnecessary noise. Thank you for coming this far. Subscribe to my channel to stay engaged. Thanks. 15. Riding like a wannabe rock star in a quiet neighborhood. Some riders just can't resist twisting that throttle every chance they get. Red light? Time to rev. Pulling into a parking lot? Better let everyone know. Rolling through a quiet residential street at 2 a.m.? Obviously, the entire neighborhood needs to hear your bike scream. Look, we all love a good exhaust note. A well-tuned engine has a beautiful sound. But constantly blipping the throttle like a hyperactive child? That's not cool. It's annoying. The worst offenders are the ones who rev for no reason other than to make noise, especially at a complete standstill. If you're not at a racetrack or warming up a carbureted bike, you're just making yourself look ridiculous. And let's not forget the guys who pull into a gas station or coffee shop and act like they're announcing their own arrival. Nobody cares, man. The barista isn't impressed, and the people pumping gas just want you to shut up. But the real kicker? These same guys will be the first to complain when people give motorcyclists a bad reputation. Loud pipes won't save your life, but they will make sure your neighbors hate you. A real rider knows when to open up the throttle and when to keep it down. There's a time and a place for everything. If you're in the middle of nowhere on an open road and you want to hear your bike sing, go for it. But if you're rolling through a residential area or sitting at a red light, keep the noise to yourself. Nobody's impressed, except maybe the other guy at the stoplight who's about to do the same thing. And now, you're both just looking dumb. Showing restraint and respect is key, and that also applies to how you carry your belongings. 14. Wearing a backpack stuffed like a suitcase. Some riders treat their motorcycle like a mobile moving van, stuffing a backpack with everything but the kitchen sink. You see them wobbling down the road with a massive, overstuffed bag barely hanging on, looking like they're about to tip over from the sheer weight of their terrible decisions. Here's the problem. Motorcycles aren't designed for that kind of weight distribution. A light, compact backpack? Fine. But when you've got a bag packed so full, it looks like you're heading off to live in the woods for 6 months, you're just making your ride miserable. The extra weight pulls on your shoulders, messes with your balance, and shifts every time you turn. Let's talk about the real nightmare, riding at speed with a loose, unstrapped backpack. You ever see a guy get nearly yanked off his bike because his backpack straps flapped into the wind and started choking him? It's not pretty. Worse, if that backpack shifts too much, it can actually throw off your center of gravity mid-turn, making you fight the bike more than you should. And there's a reason motorcycle luggage exists. If you need to carry a lot of stuff, get some saddlebags, a tail bag, or a proper tank bag. Your back will thank you, your riding posture will improve, and you won't look like an amateur hauling a week's worth of groceries on your shoulders. If you absolutely must wear a backpack, keep it light, snug, and secure. A small, aerodynamic pack with chest and waist straps will keep things tight and prevent shifting. But if your backpack is so big that you look like a Ninja Turtle, you're doing it wrong. Proper gear for carrying things is essential, much like choosing the right gear for yourself. 13. Wearing gear that makes you look like a Power Ranger at a coffee shop. Listen, I get it. You just dropped a fat stack of cash on full race leathers, knee sliders, and boots that look like they belong in MotoGP. That's great if you're actually heading to the track. But if you're just rolling up to your local coffee shop or cruising around town, you look ridiculous. There's a big difference between wearing protective gear and overdoing it to the point of looking like a cartoon character. Some guys will go all out, dressed like they're about to set a new lap record, just to ride 5 miles to grab a latte. Full-body racing leathers on a 30-mile-per-hour city ride? Overkill. And it's not just sport bike riders. Cruiser guys have their own version of this, dressing like they're starring in a Wild West movie, covered in fringe, chains, and a leather jacket that weighs more than their bike. Riding gear should be functional, comfortable, and appropriate for your ride. If you're commuting or running errands, a good textile jacket, riding jeans, and gloves will do just fine. If you're hitting the twisties hard, then sure, wear the full kit. But if your outfit makes people wonder if you just escaped from a track day or a movie set, it might be time to tone it down. At the end of the day, the best riding gear is the gear that protects you while making sense for your ride. You don't need to cosplay as Valentino Rossi to grab groceries. This wraps up the habits that make you look like a total clown. But there's another layer to being a respected rider: motorcycle etiquette. The unspoken rules that define our community. Let's dive into the 12 rules that posers constantly break. 12. Don't touch someone's bike without asking, ever. This should be the most obvious rule in the world, and yet it's broken constantly. You park at a show, a gas station, or even outside your favorite diner, and some guy walks up and starts poking at your controls, peeking under your tank, grabbing the throttle like he's doing a test fit for his future self. Let's get something straight. A motorcycle is personal space. Touching someone's bike without permission is like grabbing their steering wheel or digging through their glove box. It's not curiosity, it's disrespect. And the worst part? It's not just clueless tourists or kids. Sometimes it's other riders, especially the ones who think they're being helpful. "Oh, I just wanted to check out your setup," or "I had one like this back in the day." That doesn't give you a hall pass to lay hands on someone else's machine. You don't know how it's tuned. You don't know what's delicate. You don't know if they've got a custom clutch perch that costs more than your jacket, and you definitely don't know if they're okay with fingerprints all over their tank. If you want to look, ask questions, compliment the setup. But unless the rider hands you the keys or says, "Go ahead, keep your damn hands off." Because if you don't respect the bike, you're not respecting the rider. And that's how reputations get built or burned real fast. Respect for the machine is paramount, and so is respect for the rider's privacy, especially when it comes to their finances. 11. Don't ask, "How much did that cost?" This one slips out of people's mouths way too often, especially from folks who are new to riding or just trying to make small talk. You're chatting about someone's build, admiring the paint, asking about the parts, and then you kill the vibe with, "So how much did you spend on this?" Wrong move. Motorcycles are personal. They're a mix of time, money, mistakes, and pride. Asking someone how much their bike cost is like asking them their salary or how much they pay in rent. It's nosy, it's tacky, and it's rarely coming from a place of genuine interest. Most of the time, it sounds like you're trying to size them up, or worse, down. And when it comes to custom builds or older bikes, the answer isn't even accurate. What they spend on parts doesn't reflect the hours in the garage, the busted knuckles, the trial and error. The price tag doesn't include the soul that went into it. If you want to talk about the bike, talk about the bike. Ask about the ride, the build, the feel, the performance. But don't treat someone's pride and joy like it's an eBay listing. You want to be respectful in this community. Learn to appreciate without assigning a price tag. That's how you earn trust, not by acting like a bargain hunter at a swap meet. True appreciation for the machine comes from understanding its essence, not its price tag. And that also applies to how you showcase its sound. 10. Don't rev your engine in neutral just to show off. You're parked with the group. Maybe it's bike night, a gas stop, or just a quick meetup before the ride. Everyone's hanging out, shooting the breeze, and then some guy starts cracking his throttle like he's warming up for a drag race. It's not once, it's not twice, it's every 5 seconds like a toddler with a new toy. Blop, blop, blop. We get it, your bike's loud. You paid for that exhaust, you want people to hear it. But here's the thing, nobody asked for a solo concert. Repeated revving while stationary is just noise pollution. And the only people who think it's cool are the ones who have never ridden more than 10 miles without stopping for attention. Real riders don't rev to impress. They let the bike speak for itself on the road. If you want to test something, fine. One rev to check idle or hear a tone, sure. But repeated throttle abuse while everyone's standing around trying to talk? That's not culture. That's cringy. And don't even try to justify it with, I just love the sound, man. Everyone loves the sound. That's why we ride. But we're not out here revving at every red light like we're 12. Respect the moment, respect the people around you, and save the noise for when it actually means something. Showing off in this way can also disrupt the harmony of a group, which brings us to the importance of invitation. 9. Don't join a group ride you weren't invited to. This is a big one, and it happens more often than you think. You're out with your crew, cruising in formation, keeping a smooth pace, and out of nowhere, someone joins the line. No introduction, no hand wave, just casually slips into formation like they've been there since the pre-ride briefing. Let's make something clear. A group ride is not an open invitation, not a parade. It's not a follow the leader game. It's a coordinated effort, planned, organized, and usually built on trust between riders who know how each other moves. When someone slides into that without asking, it throws off the entire dynamic. You don't know if they understand formation spacing. You don't know if they're safe. You don't know if they're going to wheelie out of the next corner and wreck the whole group. And the worst part, when you try to wave them off or politely signal that it's not an open ride, they look at you like you're the rude one. Here's the etiquette. If you see a group ride and want to join, ask. Pull up at the next stop and introduce yourself. Don't just blend in like a ghost. It's not just rude, it can be dangerous. Respect the pack, because if you don't be surprised when the pack doesn't respect you. Group riding is about cohesion, and just like you shouldn't randomly join a group, you also shouldn't randomly give advice. 8. Don't give unsolicited advice about someone's riding or bike. You're at a meet. Someone pulls in on a bike that's not your style. Maybe they're wearing gear you wouldn't choose. Maybe you noticed their riding form looked a little stiff, and something inside you just has to say something. Don't. Unsolicited advice is one of the fastest ways to come off looking like a know-it-all poser. and it's one of the most hated habits in the writing world. If someone didn't ask for your opinion, keep it to yourself, because no one's out here begging for critiques from a stranger in a parking lot. You might think you're being helpful. Hey man, you should really lean more through corners. Or, that's not the best brand of tires for this kind of riding. Or, you should try setting up your suspension like mine. But what the other person hears is, I'm better than you, and you're doing it wrong. Unless it's a safety issue, like something falling off their bike or a tire about to blow, keep the coaching to yourself, especially if you've never ridden with them. You don't know their experience. You don't know their build, their preferences, their reasons. You want to share knowledge? Cool. Build a relationship. First, earn trust, then offer input. Otherwise, just let people ride their ride. Giving unwanted advice is disruptive, much like hogging resources that others need. But to be honest, I am giving out unwanted advice the whole time. My biggest advice? Subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. 7. Don't block the pump at the gas station just to hang out. We've all seen it. You roll into a gas station during a group ride or a solo trip, and there's a rider just sitting on their bike at the pump, sipping a drink, chatting with friends, scrolling through their phone long after they finished filling up. Meanwhile, cars are stacking up behind them, other riders are waiting, and the whole place starts looking like a traffic jam, all because someone decided the gas pump was the social lounge. Let's be clear, fueling up is not a parking spot. It's not your personal rest stop. It's not where you hang out to look cool next to your bike. The pump is a functional space. Fill your tank, pay, and then move the hell out of the way so others can use it. What makes it worse is when there's plenty of space nearby, an open curb, an empty side lot, even a shaded spot 20 feet away. But nope, they stay glued to the pump like it's a throne. This isn't just about courtesy, it's about respect for everyone else on the road. Gas stations are shared space, and hogging a pump out of laziness or ego just makes you look clueless, or worse, like you think the rules don't apply to you. You want to hang out? Do it after you roll your bike out of the way. Showing proper regard for shared spaces is a sign of a real rider, and so is respecting the deep meaning behind certain symbols. 6. Don't wear the patch if you didn't earn it. This one hits a nerve, and it should. You show up to bike night wearing a back patch you bought online. Maybe it looks like a club patch. Maybe it's a novelty MC cut. Worse, it's a rip-off of a real club's colors with a few letters swapped around to make it your own. Big mistake. In the motorcycle world, patches carry meaning. They represent loyalty, brotherhood, miles, and sometimes blood. When you wear a patch you didn't earn or try to mimic one to look the part, you're not just dressing up. You're disrespecting a whole history of tradition and commitment. And don't hide behind, it's just for fun, or I'm not trying to offend anyone. If you're wearing 3 pieces on your back with rockers and initials that look like club colors, you're pretending to be something you're not. And real riders notice. You don't need a patch to be respected. Ride your ride, show up consistently, be decent. That's what earns respect, not trying to shortcut your way into looking like a club member. If you don't know the difference between a support patch, a riding group, or a 1%er cut, don't touch it. And if you really want to wear colors, find a crew that invites you in the right way. Because in this world, trying to look like something you're not is the fastest way to lose face, or worse. Authenticity is valued above all, and it extends to how you ride when you're with others. 5. Don't ride like a maniac when you're with other people. You're on a group ride, the pace is steady, the lines are clean, everyone's riding smart. And then one guy decides it's time to turn the road into his personal racetrack. He's bombing through traffic, darting in and out of formation, popping little power wheelies, and blasting through corners like he's chasing a lap time. That guy? He's not just annoying, he's dangerous. There's a difference between riding fast and riding stupid. If you want to push your limits, do it solo or take it to the track. But when you're in a group, your riding affects everyone around you. When someone rides erratically, it breaks formation, creates confusion, and forces other riders to compensate for your unpredictability. And it's not just about safety, it's about respect. You don't know if someone in the group is new. You don't know who's riding on nerves or who's just trying to enjoy the road without stress. Your little show-off moment could be the reason someone crashes or never comes back to ride again. Worse, you make the whole group look bad to the public. When one rider looks like a clown, everyone gets judged. It feeds every stereotype about bikers being reckless jerks. So don't be that guy, ride within the group. Save the heroics for somewhere that won't ruin someone else's day or life. Group rides are about shared experience, not personal glory. And that collaborative spirit extends to how you share stories too. 4. Don't one-up every story at the table. You're sitting around after a ride, maybe at a diner, a bar, or a rest stop. Someone shares a close call they had on a mountain road. Another rider talks about a long solo trip through the desert. Then it starts. Oh yeah, well, when I was in Colorado, I did that same road, but in the rain, 2 up at night. Here we go. We all know this guy. Every story has to trigger his story, but louder, longer, more dramatic. It doesn't matter what you say. He's got a tale to top it. Close call? He had a crash. Epic ride? He rode farther. Sketchy moment? He somehow had one more intense, more dangerous, more important. This isn't just annoying, it's exhausting. Riders talk to connect, to trade experiences, to share lessons. But when someone constantly derails every moment to make it about them, it stops being a conversation and turns into a bragging contest. And usually the guy doing the one-upping hasn't done half the things he claims. Or if he has, he's too insecure to let others have a moment without trying to steal it. Motorcycle culture thrives on stories, but it works best when people listen as much as they talk. If someone else is sharing, let them. Appreciate it, relate to it. You don't need to top it. Sometimes the best thing you can say after someone's story is, "Damn, that's badass," not, "I've got one better." Respecting others' experiences is vital, and so is welcoming new riders rather than judging them. 3. Don't act like a gatekeeper just because you've been riding longer. So, you've been riding for 10, 20, maybe even 30 years. That's awesome! You've seen trends come and go, bikes rise and fall, and probably forgotten more about riding than some new riders have learned so far. But here's the thing. That doesn't make you the judge, jury, and executioner of who counts as a real rider. Some of the worst etiquette breakers are longtime riders who think their experience gives them permission to gatekeep the community. You've heard the comments, "That's not a real bike," or "You're not a real rider unless you've done a cross-country trip," or "If you don't wrench on your bike, you're just a poser." That kind of attitude doesn't build the culture. it kills it. Everyone starts somewhere. Not everyone wants the same experience out of riding. Some folks commute, some ride weekends, some wrench, some don't. And as long as they're safe, respectful, and passionate, they belong. When you start deciding who's worthy of being in the club, you stop being a mentor and start being a problem. The people you shame today might have been the riders who would have stuck around, grown, passed on knowledge tomorrow if you hadn't pushed them away. Ride your ride, share what you know, but don't treat motorcycling like a VIP lounge where only certain builds, brands, or styles are allowed. That's not what riding's about. And the old school folks who actually built this community, they knew that. Embracing everyone contributes to a healthier community, as does maintaining proper spacing, especially at a standstill. 2. Don't crowd someone at a stoplight or pull too close in a group. You're riding with a group, or maybe you've just pulled up behind another biker at a red light. The light's red, everyone stopped, and you roll up right next to them, elbow to elbow, bar to bar, like you're in a sidecar that doesn't exist. Newsflash, you're not supposed to do that unless you know the person and they've signaled it's okay to ride side by side at a stop. Crowding up next to them is bad etiquette. It's awkward, it messes with spacing, and it could be downright dangerous if someone needs to put a foot down or shift their weight. Not to mention it puts you in their blind spot if they're angled or checking mirrors. In group rides, this gets even worse. The formation is staggered for a reason. Everyone has space. When someone pulls up too close, it throws off the entire rhythm. People start adjusting. The clean formation gets sloppy, and that's how tension builds real fast, especially if you do it more than once. Respect the bubble. Give people room. If they want you side by side, they'll wave you up. Otherwise, stop a little back and off to the side. You'll still look cool, and you won't get a death glare when you finally roll off again. Bike etiquette isn't just about what you do at speed, it's how you behave when everything stops. And speaking of behaving properly in a group, the ultimate disrespect is to vanish without a trace. 1. Don't ghost the ride without saying a word. You're mid-ride, maybe 45 minutes into a beautiful back road cruise. Everyone's synced up, riding clean, and the group pulls into a gas station. You park, stretch, grab a drink, and then realize someone's missing. No crash, no breakdown, no emergency. They just bailed, gone. No text, no heads up, just poof. Ghosted the group without a word. This isn't just inconsiderate, it's stressful. Riders start wondering if they should go back and look for you. Did you break down? Did you crash? Did you get separated? It pulls attention from the ride and turns it into a group-wide guessing game. And if you ghost the ride at the beginning, it's even worse. People wait. They delay kickstands up. They call and text and worry. And eventually, someone has to decide whether to leave you behind or waste half the day trying to figure out where you went. Look, we get it. Sometimes you're not feeling it. Sometimes plans change, that's fine. But say something. A one-line text, a wave before you peel off, anything. Riding is a team dynamic. If you ride with others, don't disappear like you were never there. Motorcycle etiquette isn't about being polite for the sake of manners. It's about respecting the ride, the community, and the unspoken rules that keep things smooth, safe, and enjoyable for everyone. Break those rules and it doesn't matter what you ride. You'll stick out like a sore thumb. Now that you know what to avoid, click this video here to keep watching. Subscribe to become a part of this amazing community.